Discover the amazing truth: the janitor's daughter holds the key to an incredible transformation. Lily Carter leaned against a row of dusty bookshelves, her breath catching as she stared at the stack of research materials piled high on her desk. Each paper shimmered with possibilities, whispers of scientific breakthroughs aching to be shared, but an invisible weight bore down on her. She was just the janitor's daughter, unworthy of the accolades her mind craved. The scoffs and gossip that trailed her felt like chains, binding her to the corridor of mediocrity. Could ambition ever truly thrive when it's stifled by the expectations of a small town? She clenched the edges of her notebook, heart racing, mind spiraling. How could she pursue the prestigious academic competition that fluttered in her chest like a trapped bird? Each thought was laced with fear as she pondered what it would mean to raise her voice, a voice that could potentially eclipse her father's humble contributions to Oakwood High. Jack Carter, her father, built the framework of their lives with his calloused hands, scrubbing floors and mending sinks while wearing the label of janitor like a badge of honor. If she won, she feared its shadow would bury the dignity he deserved. With every tick of the clock echoing through the library, Lily's determination clashed violently with her loyalty. Turning her gaze out the window, she felt the sunlight hit her skin, warm yet distant, much like the dreams she yearned for. What if chasing her ambitions stripped away the honor of her father's work? Could her passion for science exist without trampling the values he instilled within her? Riddled with doubt, she slammed her notebook shut, the sound slicing through the air like a gunshot. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days rolled into nights and the tension mounted like an overcooked pot ready to explode. Secrets began to unravel when she stumbled across files about the school's funding and infrastructure discrepancies that chilled her to the bone. She found records, scrawled in legal jargon, listing her father as unrecognized despite his monumental contributions. Anger surged within her, drowning her fears in a tide of rage. How could they dismiss him? Was his labor nothing more than invisible toil, a mere footnote in the school's history? As her heart thrummed in her chest, a new resolve sparked. She had to reveal the truth, not just for her dreams but for the man who shaped them. Each revelation tightened a web around her senses, the air thick with responsibility. Lily stood at a precipice, caught between jumping toward her dreams or pulling back to shield her father from the storm. The opportunity lay before her, a golden ticket, a daunting choice. But the cornerstones of her integrity clashed with her ambitions. If she soared, could her father's dignity survive in the fallout? As she weighed the consequences, her heart pounded with indecision, hurling her into moral chaos. Tension coiled tightly around her, whispering doubts that no comforting words could untangle. As she grasped her father's photo on her desk, eyes shining with unshed tears, she knew she needed to decide. The path forward seemed impossible, yet her dreams beckoned like sirens in the night. Could she unveil the truth about her father without sacrificing her own? The question gnawed at her, twisting in knots as she steadied her breath. Lily was trapped, teetering on the edge of an irreversible decision that could either shatter her world or illuminate a future of astonishing possibility. The dawn crept into Lily's room, casting fragile light over her scattered notes and books. Each beam seemed to illuminate her turmoil, each shadow exaggerated the doubts swirling in her mind. She tossed and turned, battling with an internal tempest. Every second felt loaded, the walls of her room closed in like a vice. The competition deadline loomed, an inevitable wave ready to crash over her, yet she remained restless, spiraling in a turmoil she was too young to navigate. As she finally pulled herself from the warmth of her bed, the wooden floorboards creaked beneath her weight, echoing her own discontent. Sluggishly, she made her way to the kitchen, dragging her thoughts with her. Jack was already up, poring over the morning newspaper with a careful eye, his brow furrowed in focus. She watched him for a moment, the lines on his face telling stories of hard work, ethics, and quiet resilience. It struck her a gentle yet firm reminder of what she could lose if she embraced those ambitions veiled in glittering promises. "Morning, sweetheart," he greeted, glancing up. His voice was like a soothing balm that quelled her racing heart momentarily. "You look troubled. Everything all right?" Lily's mouth opened and closed, but the words to explain her wrestling with the truth wouldn't come. Instead, she sat across from him, her stirring thoughts swirling like the steam rising from her coffee. She couldn't find the words, not when recounting her dreams felt like an avowal of disloyalty against him. A silence draped over their table, thick enough to cut through with a knife, and she quietly resolved it was time to tell him what she had discovered. "Dad, about the funding records at school," she finally began, feeling as if she were walking a tightrope. His gaze sharpened, and she pressed on, words tumbling out. "You're not recognized at all. They've made your work invisible." The newspaper fell softly onto the table, replaced by the weight of this revelation. Jack's expression darkened, a flicker of pain flashing in his eyes. "That may be true, but it's what I chose. My value isn't defined by a title, Lily. Your work deserves acknowledgement. You've done so much." She felt the fire in her chest igniting as she spoke. Her voice, shaky at first, began to strengthen, a startling revelation dawning on her. Perhaps her voice wasn't just a shadow, perhaps it could carry weight, resonate with truth. Jack sighed, his shoulders slumping ever so slightly, revealing the burden he carried. "What matters is how you live your life, not the recognition that comes with it. But I see the fire in your eyes. You want something more." The reflection in his eyes fueled her resolve. "I want to win, Dad. But I can't shake the feeling that, by succeeding, I'm doing something terrible to you." Her heart squeezed painfully as she spoke the thoughts she had muddled for days. But that moment of honesty shifted something within her, a realization crystallizing: she could honor her father without forsaking her ambitions. Jack leaned forward, a soft insistence in his gaze. "You have a gift, Lily. Don't hide it because of me. What you do can change everything, not just for you but for others who felt like they never had a shot." With that, the storm within her settled, birthing a clarity she hadn't possessed before. She owed it to herself to chase the truth, and to honor her father. She would weave their stories together rather than allow them to compete. Fueled by newfound determination, she opened her laptop, teeth clenched as she began to outline her entry for the competition. The screen glowed like a beacon of promise, yet unease still twinged at the edges of her determination. What if unveiling the truth about her father sparked a chain reaction she couldn't control? The electric tension hung heavy in the air as she typed, each keystroke reverberating with unspoken fears. As she proceeded, she sensed the weight returning. Was she about to unleash chaos in her father's world? The moment of truth approached, and uncertainty wrapped around her heart like a vice, tightening ever more. Lily stared at the words forming on the screen. Could she truly rise as the janitor's daughter? Lily's fingers hovered above the keyboard, the hue of the screen reflecting her inner chaos. The story began to take shape, plots, and points aligning in a way that breathed life into her thoughts. Yet with each letter, a shadow loomed. Her father's legacy, once a shelter, now felt like looming storm clouds. Though her heart raced with excitement, she recognized the task before her was laden with perilous consequences. She could unearth a truth that might not only transform her aspirations but also fracture the fragile world her father had built. Faced with this daunting duality, she stifled an incoming wave of fear. What would her classmates think when they learned the true depths of her father's contributions, the stories woven into the very fabric of their school? A sudden surge of responsibility washed over her as she considered their reactions. Would they dismiss her? Would they mock the notion that she, the janitor's daughter, could offer them anything worthy of their attention? She took a deep breath, recalling Jack's gentle nudges to embrace her gift. The weight of his encouragement settled heavily, nudging her towards self-affirmation. She began typing again, the words flowing with newfound clarity, each sentence revealing hidden strengths and vibrant memories accompanying her father's unwavering work ethic. Her narrative detailed the unseen hours Jack poured into transforming the school's underfunded facilities, how his diligence inspired her classmates in subtle but powerful ways. Every polished floor, every maintained classroom was a testament to a dedication that deserved recognition. Yet, as she constructed this tapestry, her heart thudded against her ribs, demanding to know whether she was betraying her father's false humility by illuminating the truth. As thoughts coalesced into sentences, Lily realized she wasn't just writing for a competition, she was igniting a beacon of authenticity light where there was darkness. Wasn't that what her father had taught her? Through his struggles, he had imparted the tenacity of truth and the courage to persevere, irrespective of accolades. However, doubt clawed its way into her mind. Was it enough? Was she effectively conveying the greatness hidden in her father's humility, or was she merely projecting her own desires onto him? Lily pressed her hands against the keyboard with renewed vigor, her pulse quickening as she wrestled through this internal conflict. She envisioned the moment she would unveil her competition piece. Would the admiration in her peers' eyes drown out the deeper fears lurking in her chest? Suddenly, a familiar knock on the door disrupted her thoughts. It was her mother, Christine, bringing in the day's laundry, her tender face radiant but preoccupied, as if she carried burdens of her own. The casual smile slipped as she entered Lily's sanctuary, the whirlwind of domestic duties reflected in her tired posture. "Hey, honey. Working hard?" Christine's voice brought a serene calmness that filled the tense air. "I'm trying to tell a story," Lily replied, still seated, struggling to find the right words to include her mother in this monumental moment. "About what?" Taking a breath, Lily glanced at her mother, weighing the gravity of the truth she was crafting. "About Dad. His work at school." Christine's expression shifted, intrigue painted on her face. "That sounds important." Her mother's response triggered a surge of bravery within Lily. "I need it to matter, to show others how much he contributes." A moment of silence passed between them, then her mother's face softened, pride flickering in her eyes. "You always knew the story mattered, sweetheart. It's what makes us us." The words threaded through Lily, means of connection between generations. They both shared the ambition to highlight the unsung narratives of labor, love, and sacrifice. Would bringing their truths to light solidify the roots of their identity? As her resolve solidified further, a new question emerged, vibrant against the backdrop of reassurance. If this writing became a beacon for her father, would she, too, find the strength to stand up beyond this narrative? With her finger poised over the keyboard, a burst of inspiration flowed through her, gripping, empowering. She wasn't just a janitor's daughter, she was a storyteller, capable of revealing the beauty woven into obscurity. As she delved deeper into crafting her narrative, the flicker of recognition transformed into an inferno of purpose. It was there, amidst the shadows of doubt and whispers of validation, that she knew her journey had only begun. Pausing, Lily let her heart settle. Would the revelation of her father's contributions reinstate his legacy, or would it challenge those who preferred to remain in the shadows? The stakes were rising, and with a determined resolve that settled like an anchor within, she prepared for the tides ahead. The moment of truth was close, and the foundations of her future were being laid. But as the clock ticked ever nearer to the deadline, a deeper surprise awaited her. Father wasn't just the foundation of her ambition, he possessed secrets of his own, waiting in the wings, to be uncovered. What else lay beneath the surface? The question darted in her mind, urging her to explore paths yet untraveled. Lily's resolve solidified with each stroke of the keyboard. As her fingers danced over the keys, she felt the walls of her small room closing in, amplifying the urgency of her mission. The weight of her father's hidden contributions pressed heavily on her heart, but in that weight, she felt a growing courage, a desire not just to expose a story, but to honor a truth too long left in the shadows. Flashes of her father flickered through her mind, Jack's relentless dedication, the way he whistled to himself while scrubbing floors, how he offered encouraging words to anyone who would listen. These were moments that simply existed on the surface, unnoticed beneath the bustling lives of teachers and students. They were the small acts of a life lived with purpose. Could she capture that in her story? The challenge invigorated her spirit profoundly. But the unfolding narrative wasn't comforting. As she typed, doubt loomed like fog creeping in, threatening to obscure her vision. What would those classmates think? She wrestled with the possibility of rejection. Would they accept that a janitor's daughter could comprehend the power of a legacy built on dedication? Setting the laptop aside, she rose to pace her cramped room, her thoughts spiraling. Would they dismiss her insights as mere embellishments, poetic words from someone viewed as less than? The very act of sharing felt radical. Courage pushed her to confront those fears squarely, reminding herself that her father's work had bound their lives to a larger community. She craved acknowledgement, not for herself, but for him, for the man whose humility overshadowed his tremendous impact. As the evening light painted her walls in hopeful hues, a moment of clarity struck. She remembered her father's collection of stories, not just the accomplishments, but the struggles, the quiet refusal to seek accolades. This was the narrative she needed to portray. By embodying his authenticity, she could lay bare the stark reality of generational labor and sacrifice. With sudden vehemence, she settled down and began to outline her father's story, the kind of heartbeat that reverberated through the corridors of their school. Each detail resonated with the familiarity of their daily lives. She wrote with urgency, pausing only to allow her memories to breathe life into the words. Every sentence forged connections between her father's quiet labor and the admiration it deserved, yet, in the depths of her writing, another realization struck her: there were layers to this venture. Her father wasn't merely a hard-working janitor, he embodied resilience against obstacles life placed before him. Memories, both cherished and painful, collided as she revisited her childhood, revealing struggles she never fully grasped. She recognized her own familiarity with silence, 2 years of invisibility solidifying their bond of unspoken narratives. Could she truly represent both their journeys without misfiring their legacy? The turmoil pulled her deeper into reflection. What secrets had she overlooked, hidden even from herself? With this thought, a flicker of determination ignited. She resolved to delve deeper, to uncover those untold facets of her father's life. What had he refrained from sharing? Why did he carry the burdens alone? The night wore on, her fingers still poised above the keys, and a sense of urgency wrapped around her like a cloak. The thought of secrets yet uncovered, hidden talents, compelling stories spurred her into action. No longer merely a vessel for her father's narrative, she craved to discover her own. The reflections of their intertwined paths became clearer. In seeking his truth, she might stumble across her own as well. As the clock neared midnight, an unexpected sensation uncoiled in her gut, anticipation for the revelations that awaited her. There was a larger quest at play, one that would not only define her father's legacy but reshape her identity. What truths would she unearth next? Would they bind them closer, further expanding their shared narrative? She took a deep breath, steeling herself for the unknown. The dawn of discovery lingered just beyond the horizon, an invitation she could not resist. The journey was just beginning. What emerging truths would challenge her perceptions and ultimately reshape her destiny? Lily awoke the next morning with renewed resolve, her heart still racing from the revelations of the previous night. The early sun filtered through her window, bringing warmth to the cool, stagnant air of her room. She had spent hours immersed in memories, and now it was time to channel that energy into something tangible. Sitting back at her desk, she felt both familiar apprehension and a keen sense of purpose. The laptop welcomed her like an old friend, but today she recognized it as a canvas for deeper exploration. What lay beyond merely recounting her father's story? Each word she typed would be a brushstroke on the fabric of their lives, a testament woven from struggle and quiet triumph. With each keystroke, she dissected her father's journey. What were his dreams? Where did he falter? Did he ever acknowledge the weight of his sacrifices? As thoughts flooded her mind, a wave of determination surged within her. She began outlining critical moments: his first day on the job, the financial strain during her childhood, the emotional toll taken by loneliness. But with every memory came questions she never thought to ask. The relation between his tireless work and unrecognized dreams marinated in her thoughts. Could she confront her father about the man behind the mop? The idea of delving into emotions once unexpressed felt daunting, but Lily knew it was paramount if she were to honor his legacy accurately. As she crafted her outline, she realized this journey might also map her own evolution. What aspirations had she kept locked up, sidelined by uncertainty? For so long, she had identified solely as the janitor's daughter, a label that stifled her aspirations and obscured her individuality. Understanding her father's narrative compelled her to seek clarity in her own. The thought echoed through her mind like an unanswered question: what did she want? In that moment, an unsettling dread crept in, threatening to undermine her renewed conviction. The fear of failure loomed. What if her attempts to connect and draw parallels only introduced further distance between them? With each passing hour, her resolve remained guarded yet firm. In this self-exploration, she stumbled across an unexpected ally: her love for storytelling. Could the act of writing become a bridge, uniting their experiences rather than dividing them? The idea no longer felt far-fetched, it was practical, born from the very essence of her being. Lily spent the day wrestling with these intertwining narratives, collecting her thoughts like beads on a string. She needed to surface the untold truths about her father, and she too would confront her own fears, expectations, and dreams. Each realization rounded her perspective, honing a sharper focus. Her identity was not merely an extension of Jack's but forged by the trials of their shared history. The day slipped away, but that familiar anxiety returned as dusk fell. Questions still swirled in her mind. Would her father be receptive to this exploration? Could she peel back the layers he had so carefully nurtured? The prospect stirred both excitement and trepidation, merging into a potent concoction that propelled her to act. With her notebook before her, she penned a letter to her father, outlining her intentions. It was a precursor to their inevitable conversation, a way of inviting him into her world of understanding. Realizing she couldn't wait until she felt entirely ready brought an undeniable rush. The time had come to face the crucial dialogue she had long avoided. As she sealed the letter, it struck her: the exploration wouldn't end with her father. There were layers to peel back in the narrative she had yet to face. The chilling thought that she might uncover more than just their shared history loomed. Could the journey reveal not just their strengths but their vulnerabilities? If she ventured too deep, what hard truths awaited her? What would she do if her father's past revealed more complexities than she expected? With a determined breath, she stood before the mirror, knowing the next steps would test the very fabric of their bond. The pivotal moment of truth loomed large. Would Lily have the courage to confront the shadows lurking in their collective past? Early the next morning, Lily stood in the kitchen, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingling with the lingering scent of last night's doubts. Her father was still asleep, a rare sight these days, and the stillness of the house provided a deceptive peace that contrasted with the whirlpool of thoughts in her mind. With a steaming mug in her hand, she decided to begin her day with a plan. The letter sat on the table, sealed and waiting for the right moment. Each time she glanced at it, her stomach twisted. The courage to initiate their conversation eluded her, yet she knew it was necessary. Today marked the beginning of something monumental, not just for her, but for how they would redefine their relationship. Taking a deep breath, she opened her notebook, the pages filled with outlines and reflections like a detailed treasure map. She turned to her latest entry: questions she indeed needed to ask Jack. Would he view these inquiries as intrusions or avenues for connection? Could she convey her genuine desire to delve deeper without prying too harshly? She jotted down specific moments from her father's life she wanted to explore, the struggles of providing for their family, the loneliness she sometimes sensed yet struggled to articulate, and how his dreams had been superseded by life's responsibilities. In that moment, realization struck her. The fears she held were not solely hers, they also belonged to her father. If she was anxious about uncovering vulnerabilities, what about Jack? Perhaps what they each needed was not only to ask questions but to cultivate an environment where revelation felt safe. The day disintegrated into a blur of preparation. Lily set up a comfortable space in the living room, cushions piled up, a low table set with tea, and the letter displayed prominently, a brave invitation to dialogue. Each choice was deliberate, designed to evoke warmth rather than tension. When Jack finally awoke, rubbing sleep from his eyes, Lily had to combat the sudden surge of nerves. How to traverse this fragile terrain? Would they be able to navigate this new dynamic? The all-too-familiar feeling of identifying as the janitor's daughter began to creep back, but she resisted. She no longer viewed it as a defining label but as a starting point, a canvas she was ready to color outside the lines. "Hey, Dad," she called out as he shuffled into the room. "I made some tea, if you're interested." He nodded with a sleepy smile, watching her as he accepted the mug. The warmth radiated through both their hands, an unspoken promise of connection lingering in the air. "Lily, you look different today," he noted, curiosity alight in his eyes. "It's just a routine change," she replied, unable to suppress a smile. "But I've been thinking a lot about us and what it means to be a family." His brow furrowed, concern flickering across his features. "What do you mean?" In that moment, adrenaline surged. This was at the ignition of the critical conversation she had prepared for all day. "I wrote you a letter," she said, trying to maintain her composure while handing it over. "I think it's time we talk." Jack's face adopted a serious expression as he accepted the envelope. Attention multiplied as he unfolded the letter, revealing her intentions laid bare, memories, feelings, unfinished conversations. She watched his expression shift as comprehension dawned on him. Despite her resolve, doubt pierced through her confidence. Would he accept the invitation to unearth hidden truths, or would he recoil, preferring the safe silence they had leaned on for so long? Jack inhaled slowly, his eyes scanning the words she had meticulously crafted. A myriad of emotions flitted through his gaze: surprise, apprehension, finally resting on a cautious curiosity. The silence stretched between them, amplifying her heartbeat. What awaited them was not merely the reckoning of old grievances but an unfolding possibility for healing, understanding, and perhaps, transformation. "Let us talk," he finally said, a tremor of anticipation marking his voice, but as they settled into their conversation, Lily couldn't shake a feeling that there were depths yet to be explored, not just the connection with her father, but within herself. She would unearth layers she hadn't even anticipated, what truths lay beneath the surface, waiting to be discovered. How much more of her own story would she grasp along the way? As she prepared to speak the words that could change everything, she took a deep breath, realizing that the heart of her own story was far from finished. And so, the journey into the depths of both their lives began. As the conversation unfolded, the initial awkwardness began to dissipate. Jack's voice, though hesitant, carried a weight that resonated in the space between them. "I read your letter," he admitted, looking at her intently. "You've thought a lot about this." The vulnerability in her father's admission sank deep into Lily's heart, igniting something that felt like embers stirring to life. This wasn't just a discussion, it was a breach of walls and a step toward a connection that had long been shrouded by silence. "Yes," she responded, the words spilling out in a rush. "I don't want us to just exist together without really knowing each other. There's so much I want to understand about you, about us." Jack leaned back, folding his arms as though defending against an invisible force. His eyes darted to the window, then back to her, clearly grappling with emotions too complex to articulate immediately. "I was never the dad you needed, Lily," he murmured, guilt lacing his tone. "And what does that even mean?" She pushed gently. "It means you think our relationship is defined by what you provided or didn't provide. But it's more than that. It's about the stories we never shared, the dreams we never chased together." He exhaled deeply, his gaze softening. "I worked hard, you know. I wanted to make sure you had everything you needed. And I appreciate that, Dad. But sometimes what I needed was for you to be present, to share those struggles with me," she replied, her voice steady despite the pounding in her chest. "You're so much more than just a provider to me." Tension permeated the air as Jack's lip quivered slightly, and Lily recognized that they were crossing a threshold, slowly unraveling a decade of silence. Each revelation triggered an intricate dance of doubt and hope. Was she provoking too much? Yet, she felt an innate drive to dispel the fog that had clouded their communication for too long. "What do you want to know?" he asked at last, his voice barely a whisper. In that moment, Lily struggled to restrain her eagerness. This was the opportunity she longed for, fraught with the threat of potential heartbreak and the promise of renewal. She reached for her notebook, flipping through the pages that held her thoughts like a mirror reflecting her fears and aspirations. "Tell me about when you first started working at the plant," she began. "What did you want to do before that?" As Jack leaned forward, warmth radiating from him, she felt weight lift from his shoulders. His tales were interlaced with candid admissions, a tapestry woven from threads of regret and nostalgia. Each story peeled back layers she hadn't predicted, exposing how often he felt powerless against the backdrop of responsibility. Listening deeply, she came to understand not only her father's struggles but her own reluctance to see him as anything beyond his role as provider. With each shared memory, the boundaries that defined their relationship began to blur, leading to untapped territory. "All my life, I thought I had to carry the burden alone," he admitted, looking away as if ashamed. "I never wanted you to see me weak." Lily's heart surged. "But it's not a weakness to admit struggles. It's a strength." In that instant, realization struck her anew. Strength wasn't the absence of vulnerability, it was the courage to enter those uncomfortable spaces. As Jack pondered her words, his brow furrowed in contemplation, she felt compelled to probe deeper both into his story and her own. "What do you dream about now?" Lily asked, her voice laced with trepidation, anticipation flaring in her chest. His answer was delayed as he wrestled with the question, the muscles in his jaw tightening. "I don't know if I can still dream." That revelation struck her hard, a filament fracturing her defenses. What if we start dreaming together?" The idea hung in the air like a fresh breeze, perhaps even a spark igniting possibilities. The notion of shared aspirations was as foreign as it was thrilling. Lily pondered this newfound dynamic. If they began to cultivate dreams together, how would that alter their relationship? What uncharted territories could open before them? Yet, the specter of doubt lingered. Was this conversation simply a fleeting moment of courage, or would it allow for genuine transformation? The answer lay in their willingness to venture beyond the hard-won comfort of silence. As her heart raced, she steeled herself for what lay ahead. The opportunity to ignite change had arrived, but could she and her father embrace it amidst the confusion of their past? The silhouettes of unspoken truths loomed ominously, yet she felt the thrill of potential woven through them. With their hearts finally laid bare, the question now loomed larger than before: what awaited them in the pursuit of dreams, and could they confront the very core of their fears together? Lily's mind whirred with energy and apprehension. Could they really build something together, something that transcended their past? She studied her father's face, searching for embrace amidst the uncertainty. Jack's brow drew together, each wrinkle a testament to years of contemplation and buried hopes. "What kind of dreams?" he finally murmured, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. "Maybe small steps first," she suggested, desperate to sustain the fragile momentum of their dialogue. "What about going for walks together? Or maybe you could teach me something about the plant." His lips curled into the faintest hint of a smile, a shift that sent a warmth spreading through her. "I used to love teaching." "You really want to know about that place?" "Yes," she responded with barely contained enthusiasm. "I want to know everything." "It opened your eyes to the world, didn't it?" "You must have stories." "More than you'd think," he replied, the shadows of his past starting to recede. "It was hard work, but those machines. They're like living beings, each with their quirks and needs." A ripple of excitement surged through Lily. Their conversation was shifting, each anecdote a stepping stone toward reconnection. "Teach me, Dad. You could help me understand what you love about that place." His expression transitioned from skepticism to something resembling determination. "I could teach you about the maintenance, the flow of operations. But it's not glamorous." "Who cares?" She shot back, laughter bubbling in her throat. I don't want glamorous, I want real, raw experiences. Let us uncover the real you, the one behind the hardworking dad. Jack's sigh held layers of weariness and hope. Alright, but we have to keep it straightforward. No frills, just truths. The ground beneath them shifted, the weight of their past loosening slightly. As they spoke, Lily noted genuine interest sparking in his demeanor. This was not merely a father offering a lesson, but an invitation entangled with his own dreams and aspirations. Let us start next weekend, she said, excitement bubbling forth. I'll come by early, and we can explore your world together. But as anticipation flooded the room, a sliver of doubt crept in. Would this moment bear fruit? Or would their past conjoin them to the very old ways of silence? Lily felt a flicker of fear surfacing within her. What if sharing Jack's world led her to questions he wasn't ready to answer? Yet the lure of connection was intoxicating. She pressed on, determined not to retreat into silence again. And what about you? She asked suddenly, shifting the spotlight. What do you want to do? He looked stumped for a moment, the question rendering him speechless. I haven't thought about it, he admitted, his voice shaky. I spent so many years just trying to make ends meet. There never seemed time for my own dreams. Realization crashed over her, a sudden clarity. But what if you found time? Together? Jack hesitated, each second heavy with the weight of possibility. Maybe. I don't know how yet. Nervousness festered beneath the surface, pushing Lily to confront the edges of her own aspirations. What if we made a list? Things we want to do, experiences we want to create. His eyes met hers, lit with an ember of engagement but still clouded by doubt. You mean like a bucket list? Exactly. A list of dreams. Could her desire to dream together pave the way for immense transformations? The landscape of their connection seemed to shimmer with potential. But still, shadows lingered, whispers of their unresolved past haunting her mind. Was this really the way forward, or would it lead them into deeper conflict? Deep within her, determination solidified. Next weekend, she reiterated softly, revitalized by the thought of potential. But as she spoke, an unsettling thought gripped her. What if diving into the depths of their connection unearthed truths neither of them was prepared to handle? As Jack nodded slowly, the air thickening in expectation, Lily found herself at the precipice of change. What would they discover together, and what barriers lay in wait to challenge their newfound resolve? The scent of oil and grease hung in the air as Lily cranked the engine of her old car, excitement bubbling and nerves fluttering beneath the surface. It was Saturday morning, and the horizon held the promise of a new beginning. Her heart echoed with the idea of connecting with Jack through something tangible, something foundational. She had readied herself, not only with a notebook but with a growing sense of urgency to explore the fragments of dreams that lay scattered between them. As she arrived at the plant, the sprawling complex loomed large, metal and concrete stark against the bright sky. It felt imposing yet oddly reassuring, a testament to Jack's years of hard work. Each step she took toward the entrance wrought a sense of historical significance that spurred her forward. Jack emerged, wiping his hands on a rag, eyes alight with a flicker of pride. You made it! He exclaimed, a genuine smile breaking his usual restraint. I wouldn't miss it, she said, enthusiasm pushing her forward. So, where do we start? Let's take a look at the control room first, Jack gestured, leading her down the polished concrete hallway lined with industrial machinery. With every step, she caught glimpses of his world, the intricate systems, the complex flow of operations that seemed almost beautiful in their precision. What's this machine do? She asked, pointing at a large contraption that bore a resemblance to a metallic beast. That's the oil separator, he replied, animatedly explaining its role. As he spoke, Lily observed how he came alive, his eyes gleaming. This was more than a lesson for him, it was a chance to rediscover a lost part of himself. She jotted down notes, her mind racing with thoughts of how he was absorbing her presence, perhaps even appreciating it. The initial awkwardness faded as they delved deeper into the mechanical details. Each part he described resonated with her aspirations. What about you? How did you get into this? Jack hesitated, his smile faltering. I grew up in a place where we didn't have many choices. The weight of his admission hung between them, a reminder of their past filled with unspoken pain. Yet under that heaviness, a glimmer of acceptance flickered. I get that, Lily offered, a connection forming in their vulnerabilities. But you love it, right? The work? It's your dream. He took a moment, allowing the question to settle. It was, he said cautiously, but dreams get buried under responsibility. Then let us dig it back out, Lily urged, the fire in her voice steady. She pulled out her notebook, flipping to the empty pages. Let us make that list of dreams we talked about. You can't say you don't have aspirations anymore. She watched as contemplation washed over his features. The spark of determination ignited in his eyes again, however, and he began to speak. I want to teach. I always wanted to mentor the younger workers, show them what I know. I love that, she breathed. There it was, the dream that had been entombed in a past of obligation brought to the surface. Put it down. Teach others about machinery. As they continued listing aspirations for both of them, each item recorded became tangible proof of their shared commitment. But when they reached a lull, and Jack became silent again, apprehension crept back in. Was he retreating? Lily focused her thoughts, striving to remain connected even as doubts swirled in her mind. She needed to confront the limits of their interaction, the invisible wall still loomed. Dad, what else do you want? The question felt heavy, as if she had challenged a barrier too deep. For a moment, silence enveloped them, and the air thickened again. Jack's hesitation echoed louder than anything he might say. Then he finally spoke, his voice trembling, I want to feel like I'm actually living again, not just surviving. Those words pierced Lily's heart. Would her efforts to revive their connection shatter under the weight of reality? Or could they unravel the hurt and find freedom together? Just as uncertainty began to settle in, a loud crash echoed from behind them, the sound of machinery malfunctioning. It jolted both of them, drawing their focus back to the present moment of tension. Stay here, Jack commanded, urgency in his tone. As he rushed away, Lily's heart raced. What if this incident was a sign? One that could disrupt everything they had begun to rebuild. Filled with a mix of dread and determination, she knew now more than ever, she had to confront not just her father's fears, but her own unresolved ambitions. What awaited her in the aftermath of this chaos? Would she be able to confront the truths that resurfaced, or was this just a precursor to a greater challenge lurking beneath the surface? The afternoon sun glinted off the industrial buildings as Lily paced nervously outside the plant, waiting for her father's return. The machinery inside clamored like a cacophony of challenges echoing her own apprehension. She felt unmoored, yet undeniably more alive than ever, tethered by the threads of honesty and discovery. As Jack re-emerged, his brow cocked in tension amidst the oily haze, concern etched deeply in his features, he called out to her, everything's fine. Just a machine that needs some tinkering. They both knew that it was more than mere machinery that required attention. It was the truth, the tangled depths of their lives that now sat heavy on the table like an unspoken challenge. His gaze softened amid the commotion, and the faint flicker of vulnerability shone through. Okay, Dad, Lily began, grounding herself with a resolute breath. We need to tackle what just happened. Jack paused, his shoulders sagging slightly, the air thick with the weight of unarticulated sentiments. You're right. I've held back for too long. The admission resonated, echoing their shared tension and opening a space for something transformative. Let us draw that list. What if we embrace this together? She reached for her notebook, flipping pages open in a gesture of hope. Dreams, fears, the unfiltered truth, everything we want to redefine for ourselves. Jack hesitated, then nodded, eyes keenly scrutinizing the whimsical chaos of their surroundings. I always wanted to sculpt beside my dad when I was young. To feel the clay between my fingers and create something beautiful. Lily's heart soared. It was an unexpected revelation, a tangible aspiration rooted in artistry and human connection. Then let us add it. Explore sculpture. With every item they listed, walls that once cloistered their individual aspirations broke down. The weight of unexpressed dreams transformed into shared ambitions, each word a nail driven into the foundation of their renewed relationship. Now it's time for the real challenge, Dad. What do you mean? He asked, watching her with a mixture of trepidation and excitement, as the past lingered like an unseen specter. Have you ever considered returning to school? What would it mean to gain more knowledge about machinery to teach others effectively? Jack's eyes widened, framing the questions like brushstrokes on a fresh canvas. I've never thought about it. Life forced me into survival mode. Suddenly, all those years when he dampened his ambitions in favor of practicality resounded painfully in the silence. But what if we plan for our future? Could we explore education side by side? A flicker of recognition sparkled in Jack's demeanor, illuminating possibilities that crested beyond the horizon. Lily, you might be onto something. I've spent all these years working hard to provide, but maybe just maybe I can rediscover my own fire. Relief coursed through her. This wasn't just a whimsical notion, it was a worthy pursuit that encompassed both their goals. Then let us do it. Jack looked intently at his daughter, a dawning realization washing over them both. You, my dear, have an incredible gift for connection. In that moment, Lily witnessed a metamorphosis. Her father's self-doubt began to dissolve, transforming into radiant confidence. You've shown me that acknowledging dreams doesn't negate our history, it honors it, he reflected. As they lingered deeper into their plans, Jack began to sketch out ideas, interactions with teachers, potential courses, and the legacy he would pass on. Each revelation unfurled greater dimensions of love, honesty, and ambition. The balancing act of vulnerability and ambition crafted a sturdy bridge, one that was no longer solely grounded in familial obligation, but respect for each other's paths intertwining. They finally felt not just bound by blood, but by the empowerment of shared vision. Through shared laughter and the resonance of connection, they began to draft their lives anew, each aspiring for fulfillment while honoring the past's role in forging their identities. Lily felt undeniably anchored, liberated, and expansive. She was no longer the janitor's daughter, she was a full-fledged storyteller, a pioneer reclaiming their narrative. And Jack transitioned from a laborer into the dreams of his youth, a mentor embracing the artist within. Days turned into months. They embarked on a journey through education, exploring new possibilities and achievements. With every class, every lesson exchanged, they solidified a bond that tenaciously intertwined their newfound dreams, cementing their stories into the foundations of their lives. As Lily stood outside the plant one final time, basking in the golden rays of sunset, introspection washed over her. They had both transcended their burdens, evolved into the architects of their destinies, embracing the beauty of resilience. Their story would echo, the janitor's daughter, the master sculptor, united by trust, perseverance, and a horizon of intertwined dreams stretching out before them. Now more than ever, their lives were molded from purpose and love, tangible transformations etched in the very fabric of who they were, forever altering the narrative of their existence. And as that dawn broke on the horizon, she felt the call to action resonate deeply. The journey must continue. Life is where stories flourish. Together, let us make them count. So here's what I demand from you. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories that could inspire a breakthrough in your own life. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep these transformative narratives alive. Comment below with your reactions and theories about this. Ending your engagement drives our content. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to ignite their passion for personal growth and change.